We will be looking at some very basic probability in this particular lesson, more so to get you used to some vocabulary than anything. So first of all, we know that probability is the likelihood that an event will occur or happen. And then the sample space is a list of all of the possible things that could happen or all of the possible outcomes. Okay? So we're going to do just a couple of very, very basic problems. First of all, if I ask you to just roll one die, one standard die, six-sided die, that's it. And if I asked you to list the sample space would be to list all of the things that could possibly happen. So if you're going to roll one standard die, you could get, of course, a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 5, or a 6. That would be your sample space. Those are all the things that could happen, all of your outcomes. All right, so now from that, we're going to answer some questions. So if I ask you, what's the probability of rolling a number greater than 3? Notice greater than 3 does not include 3. 4, 5, and 6 are the numbers that are greater than 3. If I wanted to include the 3, I would say find the probability of rolling a number that is 3 or greater. Okay? But since it says greater than 3, you don't want to include the 3. And there are 3 numbers out of 6 where your numbers are greater than 3. Of course, you need to reduce that, and so that becomes 1/2. So that's how to write it. Not 0.5, but just 1/2. If you wrote 0.5, it's not wrong, but I would prefer to have 1/2. When we do probability, we typically put our answers in fraction form. We do sometimes put them in decimal form, but we typically have our answers in fraction form. When we do probability, what I want you to notice what happens here is the bottom number is always the total number of all the possible outcomes there are. So there are 6 outcomes, that's your bottom number. Your top number is how many times what you want to happen could happen. In this case, I want to roll a number greater than 3 that could happen 3 times out of those 6 possible choices. But again, probability is as a fraction. The bottom number is always the total number of outcomes. In a later lesson, we're going to be learning about odds, and that's why I'm pointing this out, because when you do odds, you write this a little differently. Okay, probability of rolling a 2 or a 3. Well, again, there are 6 possible choices. When we do probability, the total number of outcomes goes on the bottom. What we want to happen, which in this case is to get a 2 or a 3, there are 2 ways that that can happen. So 2 out of 6 we know reduces to 1/3. Okay, again, as a fraction, total number of outcomes on the bottom. All right, again, rolling one die, and this time I want you to get a number. This stands for probability. So the probability of not getting a 5. That means you could get a 1, 2, 3, 4, or a 6. So again, there are 6 items in my sample space, so my bottom number will be 6. 5 out of those 6 items in this case are not a 5, and 5 out of 6 does not reduce, so I can just simply leave it as that. Rolling one die, again, key one die here. I want to know the probability that you can get an 8 when you roll one die. Okay, probability, there's 6 total outcomes. There is no outcome where you can get an 8. So the probability is 0 out of 6, which is, of course, 0. All right, this time we're going to roll 2 die, and then I'm going to find its sum, and then I will talk about that in a minute. So here we go, roll 2 die. I got a 5 the first time, and I got a 5 the second time. So I want to know the ways that you can get a sum of 10. 5 and 5 adds up to 10. First of all, if you're rolling 2 die, I want you to think about your sample space. Here's all the things that could happen. You could get a 1 on the first die and a 1 on the second die. A 2 on the first die, a 1 on the second die. A 3 on the first die, a 1 on the second die. So here's your sample space. You have 36 total outcomes. This, though, asks me about sums. I need to find a sum of 10. And so what I did is I took this sample space and I changed this down here. This is what really matters, is this part that's in red. And I just added the sum. So for this first box right here, the number you see in red, 1 and 1 adds up to 2. 2 and 1 adds up to 3. And that's why you see those numbers in red. So I want to know the probability of finding a sum of 10. So still, there are 36 outcomes in this list. There are 36 coordinates, or 36 pairs of first die, second die things. So there are 36 outcomes in this list. That's what needs to be your bottom number. Of those 36 outcomes, There are 3 of them right here. If you roll a 4 and a 6, a 5 and a 5, or a 6 and a 4, you will get a sum of 10. So there are 3 out of those 36, or 1 out of 12, where you'll get a sum of 10. Okay? And the last one, roll 2 die, and I want to know the probability that you get a sum that is less than 9. Again, don't include 9 here. If I wanted you to include 9, I would say 9 or less, but less than 9. Okay? Still, there are 36 outcomes that are possible. And my ones that are less than 9 would be all of these right here in that circle. And if you count that, there are 26 of them that are less than 9. And those are both divisible by 2, so 26 out of 36 becomes 13 out of 18. By the way, if you do not know how to reduce fractions on your graphing calculator, you can type in 26 divided by 36, and then you can find the math button on your calculator. So look for the math button, and then hit enter, and enter one more time. So, and then it should spit the answer out as a reduced fraction. So in this case, you could go 26 divided by 36, hit the math key, and then enter, enter. And it should spit out 13/18 for you if you can't reduce fractions on your own. And that will do it for this basic probability lesson.